Hi, this is Ushio, and welcome back to Echo. Today is Saturday, and I think the game started on a Saturday as well, so we have done one full week in this game. We arrived back at the lake at about 10 in the morning. Yeah, if you watched the last episode, you know that Chase, he went out in the middle of the night, went to the scavenger hunt site, and he swapped out the message. Julian had driven down over an hour ago to pick us up before driving to Carl's house. Carl wasn't ready when we got there, and when he answered the door, his eyes were bleary and red. The dude has to chill out on that shit. It took him a good 20 minutes to get ready, and all the while I struggle not to glare at him. It's weird. I've been friends with the Ram for almost my entire life, and it's only now that I'm feeling real disgust for the person that he is. So many self-created problems. He keeps his head down most of the time, so he doesn't see me. He's still feeling sick too, so he opts to ride in the truck bed on the way down and Jenna sits with him. I can't help but wonder what might happen if we have an accident. TJ sits next to me, and this time I'm sure to sit in the middle so that Julian's on my left and TJ's on my right. It feels better this way. As the lake comes into view, I rest a paw on TJ's knee. He glances at me and nods in acknowledgement. I give his thigh a squeeze, then wait as we pull into the parking lot, going over the scenarios in my head for what might happen. Well, here we are. Yeah, we have sabotaged whatever was going on. We don't say anything in response as we quietly get out of the truck. Jenna jumps out of the truck bed easily, but Cole struggles, and I imagine him falling straight out and face planting onto the asphalt. Jenna helps him though, and then we're all walking down the trail toward the lake single file. I walk right behind TJ though, so I can keep an eye on him and anybody else that might try to fuck with him. Wow, it's been 12 years since I've been down here. Yeah. We were there last night. There's a cool freshness to the air by the lake. I breathe it in and get hit with the sweet memories of spending entire days down here. Swimming in the lake, building sandcastles, poking at dead fish on the beach. As we start walking on the beach and approach the big boulder, I feel my heart start to stammer in my chest. I pick up my speed and catch up to TJ. How you feeling? I'm okay. You don't sound okay. I'm nervous. We all are. I actually feel like I'm gonna throw up. TJ suddenly reaches out his paw and holds mine. I'm surprised. TJ's never done this before, and though I know it's probably due to the situation we're in, it still makes me feel warm inside. It's gonna be okay, I know it. This is going to be the end. TJ's voice breaks up on the last word. The end? The end of what exactly? TJ's guilt over Sydney? The mystery over what exactly happened to him? Of the world as we know it? Yeah, that's probably it. Because I know that after this morning, things are never going to be the same again. Just remember that if it's buried by the boulder, it's probably gone by now. I know I've said that every time before, but the lake has flooded a few times since. I look up at the steep rocky bank on the right. Remember that spring that it went all the way up to the road? Yeah. I look back at our friends. Jenna's walking side by side with Cole, talking to him in a low voice. Julian is ahead of them, and he's looking directly at me. I look away. I'm just saying that even if it's there, it's probably water damage to the point that we won't be able to read it. TJ stays silent just as we come up on the rock, sitting there on the beach like it has since I can remember. Probably like it has since before the lake was even created. TJ still holds my paw as Julian, Jenna and Cole stand next to us, the five of us in a sort of semicircle around the boulder. Well, here we are. Julian says the exact same thing he said in the parking lot, and I feel myself starting to get annoyed. But I cling to TJ's paw, and that calms me down a bit. So, if it's still here, it could be anywhere. No, in Sydney. Jenna says his name carefully. He'd probably leave a marker of some kind. This one could be hard to find. Remember that he said it's by Cole's drawing? It'd probably be right next to that. I don't know, guys. The other ones are inside of something, and this one's just out on the beach. The sand's changing all the time. Cole digs at the damp sand with a hoof, his paws shoved into his pockets, eyes downcast. Everything okay there, Cole? I say it sharply, not bothering to filter out the annoyance in my voice. He looks up at me, a bit surprised. Oh, yeah, I'm okay. I just feel sicker from the ride down. Smoke too much? Cole frowns. No. I just get sick sometimes when I'm stressed out. The weed makes me feel less sick, actually. I stop myself from asking what it is he's so stressed about. You okay, Chase? Yeah, I'm good. I shouldn't be drawing attention to myself right now. Meanwhile, Julian's walking around the boulder, looking for the drawing. TJ lets go of my paw finally and starts to walk around the boulder from the other side. Almost immediately, he points excitedly. "Oh, Cole, you're drawing!" Cole sidles up to him before chuckling quietly. "Oh yeah, for some reason I thought it had be gone by now." "Why would it be? You chipped it into the rock. Didn't you spend like a month doing it?" Cole looks down at his paws. Yeah, I fucked my paws up doing it too." I move around to stand next to them and see the rough outline of a muscular wolf with a long cape. Super Wolf. Cole had been obsessed with that superhero since the new movie was coming out that summer. I don't think he liked it very much because right after he saw it, he stopped working on the etching. It's actually pretty good, especially when you consider that Cole was like 9 when he did it. I push those memories out of my head, wiping out the smiling, childhood face of Cole in my mind. Then I steel myself, preparing for what I'm going to say and for what's about to happen. Hey, look at the sand underneath. Everyone looks down in unison at where I'm pointing my finger. I let it sink in for a moment before I say it. The dirt. It looks like someone dug it up recently. No one says anything. Or maybe the sand's just wetter there, I don't know. TJ kneels down next to the boulder, reaching out a paw to steady himself against it as Julian kneels down across from him. He reaches out with the other paw, poking at the loose-looking dirt, slightly darker than the sand around it. Still, no one says anything, and I decide not to push it further, knowing that I've already planted a seed of doubt in TJ's mind. "We should have grabbed a garden shovel from your house, Cole." "Yeah." I pick up the flat rock that I used last night. "Here." I hand it to Julian. He looks at it for a second before digging the sharp end into the dirt. It sinks in deep and easily before the stag turns out the sand. Less than a minute later, TJ gasps and reaches into the shallow hole, pulling out the lunchbox. Now that there's daylight, I can see the chipped green paint on the dragon. TJ holds it for a moment, staring down at it. Julian looks around at us. Was that Sydney's?" I can't remember, but TJ nods and with shaky hands unlatches the metal clasps. Cole stands further back than the rest of us, motionless. Jenna once again has a paw up to her mouth, not saying anything. TJ opens the lid. The hinges squeak a little as the tin lid flops open, revealing my note. Paw still shaking, TJ reaches in. At this point, there's little hesitation in TJ's movements. He's eager to find out what it says, eager to get this done. TJ unfolds the note and then reads it. He doesn't read it aloud, instead letting his eyes go back and forth over the page while the rest of us wait. I know at this point that he's finished reading it, but he still doesn't say anything, eyes glued to the page. TJ? TJ doesn't say anything, continuing to stare. TJ, what does it say? TJ sits there for a few more seconds before he wordlessly holds out the note to no one in particular. His face is blank for the most part, but I can see the shock in his eyes. Julian takes it from him and starts to read. You've reached the end, but I don't have the answer, so I'll ask again. TJ, what happened to Sydney? This is what you wrote. Oh no. The silence that follows is one of the heaviest that I've ever experienced. Cole's still frozen, and now he's looking up at Julian. Jenna's moved her paw from her mouth at this point, but she's clutching her necklace, her eyes on TJ. Julian is staring at the links, waiting probably, unsure of what any of this means. TJ, meanwhile, stares at the hole that we dug up, his paws laying limp in his lap, ears drooping. I start walking over to him. What does it mean? Do you guys know? I rest a paw on TJ's shoulder, touching it softly. He doesn't move. So I crouch down next to him, slowly wrapping an arm around his shoulders, drawing him in. I can feel him trembling. Guys, I look over at Julian with a sad look on my face. We have a friend who has a grudge about this whole thing. I think he might have been the one leaving the notes. TJ shakes his head against me, but he doesn't say anything. Julian stares. So has Chase planted this note out of spite for TJ, or is he trying to set him up against Flynn? Why has he written it like this? This is really messed up. Julian stares. But why? I shrug, beginning to stroke the top of TJ's head. Julian looks from me to TJ. I don't know. Maybe he thought that this was his last chance to hurt TJ somehow. I really don't know. Jenna and Cole have walked up to stand next to us, and both seem to be at a loss for words. The paper's different, though. TJ's voice is different and faint, muffled against my chest. There are ways to make paper look old. Maybe he just didn't have the time with this one. Julian shakes his head. Listen, I know I've only been part of this for a day, but this is crazy. And those are a lot of assumptions. Do you really know what happened? If you knew this friend of ours like we do, you'd understand how obvious this is. But then Jenna shakes her head as well. No, no, Flynn wouldn't do this. He's a jerk, but he wouldn't do this. You know that Flynn's been sending TJ threatening texts all week, and that he's been out to fuck with TJ since we got here. Jenna shakes her head again and doesn't say anything. He wouldn't. I snap my gaze at Cole, glaring. Dude, even at his worst, he'd never do something like this. It's too fucked up. All of that work just to fuck with us. And it has to do with Sydney? No. Okay, and who found the first note? Who's been Flynn's best friend since we all left? Whoa, Chase. Cole's eyes go wide. TJ finally lifts his head, looking up at Cole. You're the one that gave it to us. Set us off on this whole bullshit scavenger hunt. Cole takes a step back, mouth hanging open, looking at me like I'm some sort of alien or something. This entire thing was fucking crazy from the start. Our dead friend who left notes behind a decade ago, and somehow it's all still here, in the old school, in the house? Fuck that. Chase, stop it. Jenna's voice is soft and distant, lacking any sort of authority. I stand up suddenly, staring the ram down. What? No. Cole takes another step back, and I can see his chest heaving. He can't even get his words out. It's like he just ran a marathon and can't catch his breath. What? I don't. Cole clutches his chest, and I can't help but notice how fucking guilty he looks right now. He suddenly retches and gags loudly. Cole, breathe. No, you can't use your fucking anxiety, I make air quotes. You monster. As a shield right now, did Flynn put you up to this? Cole retches again and doubles over, spitting on the ground. Cole. Jenna starts walking toward the ram, but at that moment, something rushes past me and then past Jenna. I have a moment to see TJ's back. His tufted ears are laid flat against his head, like he's moved so fast that the wind has pushed them back. There's another quick movement, and I can't quite see from my angle, but then Cole's stumbling back, a paw up to his face, letting out a gasp like he'd been holding his breath for 10 minutes. I lunge forward, reaching out for TJ as the cat goes in for another swipe. Cole jumps back toward the embankment, and as he does, he lands on the many rocks that separate the beach from the road. I grab the back of TJ's shirt, and at the same time I see Cole's hoof disappear between the rocks, and then he falls back. And then there's a sound of a thick branch snapping in two, cutting through the air like a gunshot. Immediately, Cole lets out the most hideous scream I've ever heard the ram make. No! Jenna runs past us, followed by Julian as a more even jog. Meanwhile, I hold on to TJ, the link still going after Cole, making a yowling sound as his claws swipe at the air baring his teeth. He's wild, feral, not thinking at all. TJ, stop. I'm here. I try talking into the lynx's ear, and at the same time my feelings started to go limp in my grasp, the energy and rage slowly going out from him. I finally feel safe enough to turn him around, putting him into a hug. It's okay. You got him. You're fine. TJ looks toward Cole one last time, watching the ram roll back and forth on his back, choking, howling, and screaming all at once. Oh my god. TJ suddenly turns his face into my chest and starts to cry. Jesus, his ankle. Cole, can you move? But Cole isn't listening, continuing to scream and hyperventilate at the same time. Call an ambulance. I don't know who she's talking to, but Julian pulls out his phone. TJ continues to sob into my chest, and I start to move away, toward the trail, pulling TJ with me. I'm taking TJ back to the motel. Yes, leave please. Jenna snarls at me over her shoulder. Hi, we need a paramedic? Yeah, someone here tripped and broke his leg and can't get up. Cole, I know it hurts, but you need to breathe. I'm gonna count. Jenna's voice fades away as I start fast walking toward the trail, pulling the sobbing TJ along with me. This is messed up, and because Chase meddled in the situation, he might have made the thing a whole lot worse. TJ finally pulls away from me when we reach the parking lot and starts walking ahead, hugging himself. I follow behind him at a close distance, listening to him sob for a while. It isn't until we reach the road that he's finally calmed down enough to stop sobbing. I walk quietly behind him for a little bit longer before finally catching up, walking next to him. He doesn't say anything and goes on hugging himself, hiccuping softly every once in a while. I wonder if I should say anything, ask him about what happened, or even change the subject completely. Eventually though, he's the one to speak first. I didn't mean to. He cuts off as he goes into a coughing fit. I rub him on the back gently. It's okay, you don't have to explain yourself after what you did. Do you think... TJ takes a deep breath, finally steadying his words. Do you think he really did that? I let the silence drag out a moment before finally replying. Who else could it have been? I completely understand why you went along with all of those notes, but in the end, there was only one realistic conclusion we were going to get to. Yeah. I just didn't think they'd do something like this, especially Cole. TJ says Cole's name softly. I still don't know if he did it, but then I remembered what he said when we played Spit the Bottle. I felt like it had to be him. I was just so angry. I'd never been so angry in my life. It was scary. I mean, maybe Flynn didn't tell him everything about what was going on. I guess he could have been tricked into thinking Flynn somehow had good intentions in all of this. I don't know. His leg. TJ covers his face like he's about to start crying again. I quickly put my arm around him and hold him close. Hey, this isn't your fault. Honestly, he deserved that scratch you gave him, and he fell on his own. TJ shakes his head. I can't even remember what happened. I just started running at him. It's like I wasn't in control. It was like it was all automatic or something. Him too. TJ. I'll stop the links and turn him toward me, even though he keeps covering up his face. This is not your fault. What Flynn and Cole did to you is absolutely disgusting, and honestly, I'm amazed that you were able to hold yourself back as much as you did. But the sounds he was making, it sounded so awful. TJ's face screws up under his paws. I hug him again. No, he only had a taste of the pain that you're feeling on the inside. Now, stop thinking about him. It's over. The whole thing is over. TJ starts crying softly again, and I hold him closer, letting him get it out of his system. Over his shoulder, I can see the ambulance lights flashing, though they don't have a siren on. I'm thankful for that at least. My phone buzzes in my pocket a few times, but I ignore it, waiting until the Lynx's soft sobs taper out. I turn him away from the lake so he doesn't see the lights, and we kept walking slowly up the road. Less than a mile away, the motel sign glints in the sunlight. TJ shuffles along, continuing his quiet snuffling. Did you want to leave today? I don't know. Maybe. Well, let's get back to the motel and sit down for a while, okay? Then we can decide what we want to do. Okay. TJ's breathing evens out again as we get closer to the motel. But why do you think Flynn would do that? Doesn't make any sense. I shrug. Well, like I said yesterday, I think now that he knows he isn't going to get the answers he wants, he's just out to hurt us now, and that's it really. Chase, you are a bad dude. You are not cool doing this shit. You're right. I guess I just didn't think he could be capable of that. I mean, you always see the best in people. There's nothing wrong with that. TJ doesn't respond, and we're silent the rest of the way there. The first thing TJ does when we get inside is lay on the bed and stare at the ceiling. I check my texts to see that they're all from Jenna. They say Cole just broke his ankle and he's going to be fine. Julian's driving me to the hospital so we can sit with Cole and bring him back when they're done. And by the way, when they asked Cole what happened, he said he just slipped on a rock and fell. He said that's where the scratch came from too. I assumed he doesn't want to tell anyone about what happened. You should think about checking out early. I'm probably going to be at a friend's house in Paynton after this. I stare at the last text, wondering what exactly it means. She's going to be at a friend's house, and that's just it? Almost sounds like she's done with us. I guess one good thing came out of this then. Cole's going to be fine. He told the paramedics he slipped on a rock, so I don't think he's going to be like pressing charges or anything. TJ covers his face, and I hope he isn't about to cry again, but when he starts talking, his voice is steady and even. I'm going to have to see him before we leave. I don't want to leave this town like this. He sounds defeated, like he knows things are now ruined beyond any sort of repair. I suddenly feel a wave of compassion and love for the Lynx, the one purely good person in this shit town. I get up and drape myself over the bed next to TJ. He looks up in surprise, ears perked and twitching, his tufts waving around in the most adorable way. Listen, I know we can't just forget what happened back there, and I know we can't fix everything, but... I pause and wait until TJ looks up at me. I want to spend the rest of the weekend together and have fun. There's not really much else we can do. TJ looks back up at the ceiling. But what about the project? I laugh. Dude, it doesn't matter anymore. I'll just retake the class over the summer or something. That doesn't sound good. I don't want to cause you to fail. You're not. I'm making the decision. TJ continues to stare at the ceiling, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I just broke Cole's leg. Cole fell and broke it himself, okay? No, I did it. Things are so messed up now. His voice starts to go up high again, and I quickly put a paw on his shoulder. Quiet, we can't think about that anymore, it's over. I rub his shoulder, comfortingly. You know what, let's go to Peyton, get out of this crappy town and do something, okay? TJ lets out a shuddery sigh. Maybe. I just need a minute. Okay. I roll over and look out of the window through the blinds, feeling like I've accomplished something. You've accomplished being a proper dickhead, mate. Alright, things went a little further than what I planned on, but it's working out for the best. My main issue now is figuring out what the hell Flynn and Carl were planning with all of that bullshit, and what all they know. Assuming it had been them at all, but as of right now, I can't imagine who else it could have been. The dude kept the scraps in his pocket, we're gonna have to check. I feel a little guilty about what happened to Cole, but I had to show everyone how stupid and crazy the whole thing was. And just then, I see Flynn's truck rolling into the parking lot. I tense up, staring in disbelief. What the hell reason would he have to come here? I'm only frozen up for a moment before I suddenly swing my legs off the bed. I don't know if TJ's looking. I hope not, as I start to close the blinds. I'll close these so the sun isn't shining in your eyes, and I'm going to make a call to Jenna to make sure things are going okay, alright? I look back and I'm relieved to see TJ only now looking over at me. Okay, tell her I'm sorry. I will, get some rest. I try not to look like I'm in a hurry as I go out the door and open it just wide enough for me to slide out. Flynn's truck pulls into a parking space about 20 feet away and I jog over to him before he can get out. Hey, I say just as he opens the door. He looks at me coldly for a moment before getting out and slamming the door shut. Hey. We stand there awkwardly for a full 10 seconds, but Flynn doesn't say anything. Need something? Why do you think I'm here, Chase? I shrug. I've got no idea. Flynn stares at me for a few more seconds as he chews a toothpick in his mouth. You were down by the lake. That's a really weird thing to assume, Flynn. Flynn scoffs. Don't play with me. I see ambulance lights over by the lake, and 10 minutes later, I get a text from Cole telling me he's hurt his leg. Really, Flynn? People go down by the lake all the time. Could have been anyone. No one goes down by the lake. I know you've been sneaking around the town doing shady shit with Tej and Jen. I keep on a straight face, refusing to crack under Flynn's pressure. The only reason why I didn't ask you what the fuck you're doing is because I know you all hate me right now. But if you really went down there together, that's fucked. Why is it fucked, Flynn? Because you decided it's off limits for everyone else because it makes you feel bad? Fuck off. Flynn's eyes widen for a moment. Do not fuck with me on this, Chase. You know that's the last thing I ever want to hear from you. It's strange how I feel right now. Normally, I'd be trying to calm the lizard, try to talk him through his temper and past trauma. But now I don't care. Just like with Cole, I don't care how far this goes. This is his fault in the end. I can't believe you, Flynn. You start this whole thing, and now you're trying to act like the victim. It's fucking disgusting. Flynn gives me a baffled look. What are you talking about? You mean what I said by the river? Actually, yeah, that probably was the start of it. How does that lead to you arseholes fucking around by the lake? You know exactly how. I watch Flynn carefully, trying to see if I can sense anything in his demeanour or his expressions. I've never really known him to lie, but if he's lying right now, then he's fucking amazing at it, because all I can sense now is bewilderment. He must have a lot of experience with lying. Chase, what the fuck's up with you right now? What do you mean? You're acting like an ass. Oh, so now you know how we all feel when you talk to us. Flynn stares at me, studying me, and then he looks up. Who's here? No one. The fuck? Where's TJ and Jenna? Not here. Flynn glances down at me. Well, I gotta take a piss. Can I come in? No. We stare each other down for a long time. Finally, Flynn pushes past me. Well, I'm gonna give the door a knock and see if anyone's there. Maybe you missed him. I whirl around and follow him angrily. He doesn't want to talk to you. Flynn turns on me. Oh, so TJ's here then. Why didn't you tell me that? Why do you think? Flynn, you need to leave right now. Flynn glares down at me. I know you guys are up to something having to do with Sydney, and if that's the case, I have every right to know. Flynn starts walking again. And he has every right to talk to me himself. I dart around Flynn and stand in front of the lizard, glaring up at him, bracing myself once again. Get out of the way, Chase. Leave him alone. Flynn pauses. All I want to do is talk, that's it. I let out a mirthless laugh. After what you did at the river? Hell no. Flynn tries to push around me again. I grab his arm. He swings, tries to yank it back, and I shove him back toward his truck. Leave. I'll be yelling right now, but I don't want TJ to hear us through the thin motel walls. Don't fucking touch me, and get out of my fucking way. He tries again, and this time I grab his arm and yank him away, swinging him like Leo did at the river. He might be tall, but I'm kind of amazed at how easily I can manipulate Flynn's body like a mannequin. Either that, or I just don't know my own strength. Flynn rolls with a curse, and immediately pops back up, taking an awkward swing to my head. Fucking little prick. I duck his punch and tackle him around the waist, knocking us both to the asphalt as Flynn grunts loudly. Ow. I scramble on top of the lizard and sit on his chest, pinning his arms under my knees. Again, he can barely move under me. Weak. Weak. I snarl down at him, raising a fist. Flynn flinches, closing his eyes and turning his head away. I pause, letting the tension build. Finally, I slowly lower it. Leave, Flynn, otherwise I'm gonna cave your fucking face in. I'm tired of you bullying TJ and taking out all your problems on the rest of us and just being a miserable piece of shit all your life. I keep my voice low, almost growling like a canine. Flynn cracks open an eye and looks up at me in fear. I fucking hate you. I always have, and you deserve to have every single one of your fucking teeth knocked out for the way you've always treated us. I look back toward the door, but it's closed, quiet. I look back down at Flynn. Leave, and I never want to see your ugly fucking face again, understand? Flynn just stares up at me. I can see the fear still, and maybe even a little hurt. What happened, Chase? I don't say anything. I know he isn't going to fight anymore. I get up, and Flynn lays there for a moment staring at me. Finally, he rolls over and gets to his feet unsteadily. Then, without a word, gets back into his truck and starts it up. I turn away finally, hearing the lizard pull out of the parking lot as I open the door to the motel. I'm relieved to see TJ sitting on the bed, looking down at his phone. I was positive that he'd heard something. He looks up when he hears the door open. Hey. Hey, Teach? What did she say? Carl's good. The doctors are checking him out. She said that you're fine and that she understands why you did it, but I guess she's a little stressed out too because she's going to the friend's house in Paynton. Oh. TJ's ears lower. I think she just wants to give you space. Maybe. I did get a text from Julian. Oh, really? There's that twinge of irritation there. Yeah, said he was going to stop by after he drops off Carl. I was thinking we could wait until then before we leave, to talk to Julian at least. I don't think Cole wants to see me. Okay. I try not to let that anger creep into my voice as I sit down on the bed next to the lynx. And Chase? Yeah? TJ smiles at me through his puffy eyes and matted cheek fur. Thank you for being there for me. It means a lot. Oh man, this is such a messed up situation. So, okay, it's late afternoon by the time Julian arrives to pick us up from the motel. Things are predictably awkward at first as the stag drives us out of the town in silence. I'm just happy that I've managed to sit between him and TJ again, leaving the lynx to stare out his window as the desert landscape passes by. I watch Julian as his thumbs tap hardly on the steering wheel before he suddenly sits up straight. Oh, Chase, you left your camera in the truck bed yesterday. I forgot to tell you. He glances over at me and I nod. Oh yeah, probably should have remembered that. Do you want me to pull over so you can grab it out? I don't know how you feel about it sliding around back there while we're on the highway. I shrug. Should be fine. It's probably been through worse considering it's a crap rental from the university. Oh. Julian starts tapping away on the steering wheel again. So, your friend seems okay. He'll need to rest for a few months to recover, but he didn't seem too worried about it. I snort. Course not. Yeah, anyway, what was it you guys wanted to do? Julian leans forward a bit to glance at TJ. I just wish he'd keep his fucking eyes on the road. I nudge the lynx and he snaps his gaze from the window to look at us. What? I was asking you what you wanted to do tonight, Tej. Alright, not really sure. We could go see a movie, maybe. Anything out that you want to see? Not really. You know, I used to do this thing where I'd get a random ticket to a movie I'd never heard of before. I'd have no expectation, so usually I'd be pleasantly surprised. And that sounds kind of fun, as long as it's not R-rated. Yeah, so the way I'd do... Why don't we go to the Familyplex? I cut Julian off, looking over at TJ. Familyplex? Yeah, you remember that place, right? We go there as kids for birthdays and stuff. The old rundown arcade thing at the mall? Yeah. TJ seems to perk up a bit. I haven't been there for like 10 years. Could be fun. If it's still open, I haven't been to that corner of the mall in a long time. It is. Well, okay then. Should we go there? There's a moment of silence before TJ shifts next to me. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, Familyplex is basically as I remember it. Like TJ had said, a good decade has passed since we've been here, maybe more. But the ugly, stained carpet and sickly coloured walls still cover the place, a real relic of the 80s and 90s. Still, I'm happy to see TJ smile as we walk in, his adorably wide eyes scanning the place, as I'm sure he's hit with that same sense of nostalgia. Oh my gosh, everything's exactly the same. The look on Julian's face is slightly less enthusiastic. Even smells the same. Kinda like it actually, reminds me of a movie theatre. Same. It's really just the popcorn and recycled air from the AC. I realise then what a fucking stick in the mud Julian is, but I ignore him, instead following TJ as we make our way to the machines. Luckily, the place is almost empty. There's a group of teenagers being loud and annoying over by the air hockey tables, but otherwise we've got the place to ourselves. For a moment, we just stand there, and then Julian reaches into his pocket. You guys want to chip in some money, and I can go get us a few rolls of quarters. I take out a 5, and so does Julian, while TJ hands over a 10. Wow, Tej, that's a lot. Oh, I've only got 10s. Besides, we'll go through them fast. Always do. Julian walks off to the front counter, while TJ and I wait awkwardly next to the skee ball ramp. I feel like things wouldn't be so tense if Julian wasn't here, and I feel myself getting progressively annoyed by his presence. I'm about to ask TJ how he's feeling when Julian comes back with 2 rolls of quarters. So, we got 2 rolls. You want to count out your shares or... I shake my head. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're just here to hang out anyway. TJ takes one of the rolls and tears off one end. You guys want a skee ball? Sure, you know, I've always been pretty good with this game. I take the open roll of quarters from TJ and take out one of my own, inserting it into the neighbouring skee ball machine. There are only 2, and I kinda hope that Julian might just wander away, but he stays there right behind TJ, watching. I sigh and insert my coin, watching as the little balls roll out into the little compartments. Meanwhile, TJ's having a terrible time, each one of his balls rolling into the scoreless gutter. I roll my first ball and watch as it misses the 40 and rolls into the 10 gutter. Well, don't worry about it, Tej. Do you want me to show you how? Julian moves next to me and I grit my teeth in annoyance, moving over a bit. The stag flicks the ball expertly down the ramp and lands it squarely on the 40. Wow, first try too. Honestly, I'm out of practice, but usually I go for the hundreds in the corner. How do you do it? Well, Julian grabs hold of TJ's wrist and I feel my fur starting to stand up on my neck and shoulders. All in the wrist. He moves TJ's arm forward before bending the lynx's wrist. Oh, I see. TJ tries again, and this time gets the 10, but on his second try he lands it in the 50. Nice. Julian holds up his paw, and TJ slaps it loudly. The stag laughs and looks over at me. You okay, Chase? You still got 4 balls? Without a word, I turn back to my machine and huck the balls down the ramp, each one landing in the gutter. Meanwhile, I listen to Julian and TJ celebrate another 50. For the rest of the night, I'll follow TJ and Julian around, the stag showing the cat how best to play the games. All the while I stand next to them, dumping my quarters into games I don't even finish. I just want us to run out so we can leave. Damn, salty dude. The drive back is quiet and tense. TJ and Julian asked me multiple times at the Familyplex if I was alright, until I finally told them I just had a headache. That stopped their questioning for the most part, and luckily that prompted TJ to propose we just go back to the motel. I tense up again when he offers Julian to spend the night there, but luckily the stag declines, wanting to go back home to his own bed. As we drive, I notice TJ nodding off, his head bumping the glass of the window. You can lean against me, Tej. TJ's ears flick, flushing a bit. Oh really? I mean, I don't wanna... As I answer, I reach over to clasp the side of TJ's face, before I force the lynx's head to lean sideways against my shoulder. TJ stiffens up, but then he relaxes, and 5 minutes later I can tell that he's fallen into a light sleep. Julian glances over at us occasionally, but doesn't say anything. I lean my cheek against the top of TJ's head. I realise how good it feels to sort of envelop him like this. It feels like I'm protecting him. All those bad, tense feelings from the arcade start to melt away. Pretty soon, I start to drift off as well, the smooth drone of the highway lulling me to sleep. I open my eyes to see the back of a rusty white sedan pulled off on the side of the road. Julian's pulling off as well, behind the car. The sun's already getting low in the sky, a little bit of cloud cover rolling in from the west. And that's when I realised there's a large coyote standing next to the car, leaned over and looking at the front left wheel. She stands up when our headlights hit her, and she shields her eyes against the light. It's Janice. This could mean anything. Julian shuts his headlights off. Looks like she's got a flat. What? TJ wakes up, and I'm a bit disappointed to feel him shift off of my shoulder. What's going on? Julian's already hopping out of the car, walking up to the now grinning Janice as she sets her paws on her hips. Well now, what are you doing out here, Judy? I can hear her loud, obnoxious voice, even with the doors closed. Janice has a flat. Want to go back to sleep until Julian helps her? TJ shakes his head, shifting himself to open the door and hop out. I sigh as he leaves, pushing myself across the seat to jump out as well. Chasing Tobias too. She turns her psychotic grin on us. Yeah, we were having a night out. Anyway, do you want some help? Well, you know, Julian, I actually do. I don't have my own jack. Been missing for the past 15 years, you know. Julian smiles back warmly. Well, I've got one. Do you have a spare? Yep, in the back. I hope it's not flat too. Haven't had to use that thing in a while. Well, go ahead and pop the trunk and we'll see what we got. I'll go get my jack. Julian jogs back to the truck while TJ and I stand behind Janice's car. Sadly, that's when the old coyote turns her attention on us. Well, how are you two doing this evening? I'm doing well, thanks. I want to thank you again for doing all that yard work during your vacation. Seems I'm always out here just needing help. Oh, no trouble at all, ma'am. I'm happy to let TJ do the talking, just wanting to get this all over with as soon as possible so that we can head back to the motel. I squint as Julian's headlights come back on and he hops out of his truck. Just want to give us some more light? Janice pops the trunk and lifts it up, revealing a cluttered mess inside. She brushes it all aside and lifts up the flap, revealing an old rusty spare tyre. She nudges at it, testing the air pressure before lifting it out. Well, it's a little deflated, but should be enough to get me to Duke's house. I know he's got a few tyres I can probably use. If not, I'll just get him to drive out and buy me one. Julian kneels down next to Janice's car, setting up the jack. We stand there in silence for a bit, watching the stag as he works. Speaking of your vacation, it wasn't really a vacation for you, was it, Chase? My heart sinks a bit as the dumb yote turns her attention directly on me. What? I grunt politely in question, keeping my gaze on Julian to show Janice that I'm definitely not interested in what she has to say. Well, that grumpy lizard Flynn was telling me about it in the diner a few days back. Something about you wanting to document the spooky stuff in town. Oh. I tried to think of a way to keep things uninteresting so she doesn't ask any more questions. Sort of. Mainly, I just wanted to find some information on the murder that happened like 100 years ago. I couldn't find much out. Oh. Flynn made it sound more like one of those ghost documentaries that I used to watch sometimes. I had a few stories for you. Uh-huh. I keep my eyes firmly on Julian's paws as he starts to crank the jack. And then TJ nudges me. Hey, are there any rules against it being a ghost documentary? I sigh, though I try to keep it quiet for TJ's sake. Well, it's more of a news piece, so a ghost story wouldn't really work, I don't think. Actually, I've seen segments on the news about ghosts. I don't know if they're serious, but when someone catches something on camera, sometimes they'll play it. I shrug. Well, even if it's the case, it probably won't get me a very good grade. It's better than no grade at all. TJ smiles encouragingly at me, and I can't help but smile back. He always has a way of cheering me up, no matter how bad of a mood I'm in. That's the spirit. Besides, could just be about the history of it, rather than making it seem real, even if it is real. I sigh again, though this time I don't try to cover it up. Janice either doesn't notice or doesn't care. So, do you want to hear him? Yeah, let me grab my notepad real quick. I walk over to Julian's truck, listening to Janice as she babbles excitedly to TJ about how scary it is. I try to unzip the bag, but the ledge of the truck bed is too tall, so I have to grab the whole fucking thing and trudge it back over to the car. I unzip the side pocket and pull out my notepad and pen, and I stand up straight to look at Janice expectantly. The coyote sits on the ledge of the trunk, making the car shift. Julian pauses, eyes wide, as I'm sure he thought the sedan was about to topple off the jack. Well, let's see. I can start with what my grandpa told me. Yeah, that works. Actually, that's great, because this happened right here, in these very woods. Janice gestures off the side of the road to the trees. So my grandpa was taking a walk in there with my grandma in, I want to say sometime in the 40s, right after they were married. They were walking along one of the little trails in there, and as they started hearing this strange sound in the trees, like something scuttling up and down the branches. They kept looking, couldn't see anything. TJ hugs himself and rubs his arms with his paws. Wow, it's creepy. Oh, they ain't half of it, Tobias. Thing is, as they kept walking, those sounds followed them, and then... Janice lowers her voice, and despite my annoyance, I have to draw in a bit closer to hear the next words. They started to hear it talk. Hear about what talk? What? TJ is fully drawn in by Janice's theatrics, and I have to struggle not to roll my eyes. Well, whatever it was, it started talking down to him. Janice pauses and glances at me, and I make sure not to give her anything, staring glassy-eyed at my notepad. What did it say? Well, just strange things like you're here, and I see you, though my grandpa said he wasn't sure it was even talking to them, really. He said that when it started to just laugh, that's when he and Grandpa started running. Even then, it followed them. He said it sounded like it was rising in the air and landing from tree to tree, following them until they got out. At this point, TJ is just frowning, and I have to force myself to jot down the stupid notes. Well, what was it? Janice shrugs. I don't know. Grandpa only told me the story once, when he wouldn't go on a family walk in the forest. I asked him why, and he told me. I asked Grandma about it too, but she pretended she couldn't hear me. The thing is, my grandpa's not a liar, that I can promise you. I scribble in the notepad, pretending to write all this down. Oh, he also said it sounded mechanical, kinda like it was coming through a machine or computer. Which is weird, because they didn't really have those back then. A moment of silence goes by as I wait for Janice to go on. And when she doesn't, I look up. So that's it? Oh yeah, did you think they'd actually seen something? I shrug. Anything else? Janice has a think. Well, there's this bear up the road named Brian. One time he told me a story about seeing some aliens around here, UFOs and such. This time I can't stop my eyes from rolling, but again, Janice either doesn't see or ignores it. Said back when he was a teenager, he saw a flying saucer as he was passing by the lake. I don't even bother to move my pen, but Janice just keeps going. You know, I was listening to this podcast a while back. You know those radio shows on the internet? Oh yeah, I love listening to those when I work out. Well, there's this paranormal one I listen to that really goes in depth on this kind of stuff. And you know we've all heard the story about gold in a quartz deposit? Yeah. Well, Janice lowers her voice, leaning in, like she's discovered the best kept secret in the entire world. In the podcast, they were going on about how places with lots of quartz end up being more haunted. You know why? I don't say anything, so TJ chimes in. Why? Well, the quartz captures stuff from the past, like really emotional, angry stuff, and sometimes when things line up just right, they play it back. Only when they do, it's all twisted up and mixed with other stuff. Makes what you see really awful and horrible looking, but you know. Janice pauses again. What? I think there's more to it than that. I think there's something with a conscious mind behind it all here in Echo. I finally have to break in. Has anything happened to you specifically? You know, it's better if I have something straight from the source rather than second hand. Janice finally goes quiet then, eyes flicking down to look at the ground. Julian, meanwhile, has pulled off the tyre and is fitting the spare in place. Well, maybe. I grit my teeth. What do you mean? Janice lets out a soft, mirthless chuckle. Let's just say I've seen things I've promised not to tell anyone about, Chase. I can't tell if she's joking or not, so I just go along with it. Oh, you order a hit on someone? Maybe, Chase. TJ stands there, a mortified expression on his face. I look down at my camera bag. Well, I think it might be good to get some footage of the trees in there while there's still a little light. If I'm gonna do the whole ghost story thing, then I better give it a horror movie vibe. Oh wow, that sounds wonderfully spooky. I start toward the tree line, and then I look back at TJ. Wanna come with? Oh, TJ looks back at Janice and Julian, the latter of which is screwing in the tyre. Go on, TJ, give him some company in there, especially after I told you all that story. Janice cackles, causing the car to shake again. Besides, I don't mind keeping Julian company in the meantime. Julian grunts as he keeps his focus on the tyre. Well, okay. With that, TJ and I cross the ditch into the forest, following the little trail that weaves through the trees. As the darkness of the forest engulfs us, I look back at TJ and see him timidly moving along, looking at the trees nervously. I grin. He's scared. TJ looks over at me with a start. Oh, he lets out a soft laugh. Yeah, maybe a bit. I pause, waiting for the lynx to catch up to me, and then I hold out my paw to him. He stares at it for a moment, as if not comprehending what it is. I stubbornly keep it outstretched. No one's gonna see. TJ seems to think for a moment. Then I see the lynx wipe his paw on his pants quickly before reaching out to take mine. I pull TJ along through the forest, glancing up occasionally to see if I can find a patch of sky sufficient enough for the shot I want. Don't worry, man. You know I saw something here too, yeah? What? TJ's busy looking off into the trees, his ears perked, listening. Yeah, when I was a kid, I thought I saw a fox hanging from the trees. Oh my gosh, please don't tell me this right now. I frown. Listen, what I realised is that sometimes people hallucinate things. I'd rather just not talk about it right now. All I'm saying is that the stories that Janice told us aren't real, and even if they are, those people hallucinated, and that's it. Well, sure, but that doesn't mean I still won't freak out if I do see something. I squeeze the lynx's paw in mine, shaking it around a bit. Well, you've got me if that happens. Yeah. TJ squeezes back. There's a slight resistance in his grasp though, as if he's trying to pull back from me while at the same time holding on to me. Chase, have you been feeling okay? I feel fine. I stop on the path, looking up at the little patch of dusky sky above me, almost spherical and perfect for the shot that I'm gonna get. Because you seem a little bit off, especially when we were at the family plex. And I know we've all been a little bit off since it happened. I mean, I was feeling really weird the past few days. I set the bag on the path and zip in the main compartment and putting out the camera. Maybe you're feeling the same way that I was. I shrug, turning the camera on. I feel fine, Tej. TJ suddenly places a paw on my arm, and that gives me pause. Chase, are you sure? He's looking at me directly in the eye, his paw pads warming the fur and skin under them, chasing away the chill of the evening. It's his wide blue eyes that catch my attention, though. They're sincere, kind, and full of love. It's then that I realise what TJ's trying to tell me. After all this time we spent together over the week, getting to know each other better, talking about our future plans, it's only now that I realise. I stand up straight, facing the lynx more directly, a soft smile on my lips. TJ looks up at me, eyes looking over my face, as if searching for something. I lean in and kiss him. It lasts a moment. Our lips meet, mine on his for the first time. It's a moment of pure bliss, and I close my eyes to show the lynx just how passionate I am about it. I feel his lips freeze up against mine, and then suddenly they're gone. I open my eyes in time to see TJ stumbling backwards. One paw flies up to his mouth, and the other stretches out behind himself, as if worried he's going to run into the trees. I guess I surprised him. I smile and follow the cat, reaching out my paws. Are you okay? As I reach for him, he pushes my paws away. I frown. What? What was that? TJ's whispering, but it's a loud sort of whisper, almost deafening in the quiet forest. What do you mean? I kissed you, TJ. I love you. The look of pure shock and horror on TJ's face stuns me. What? What are you talking about? TJ, you're asking really dumb questions right now. You heard me. I feel myself getting a little irritated. I just bared my soul to him, and now he's acting like I just told him a terrible secret. But you mean like a friend? No, I mean like a boyfriend, like a lover. I reach out again, but this time TJ twists away from me and then starts to back up, back the way we came from. I follow him. What? How come? I can see his rapid breathing, his wide eyes like a cornered animal. I feel myself getting angrier. What do you mean, how come? Do I need to explain it to you? TJ keeps backing up, and I see what looks like fear in his eyes. I don't understand it at all. He starts to turn around, but I grab his arm. Hey, you flirt with me all fucking week and you're asking why. What the fuck are you talking about? Chase, let me go. He tries to pull away weakly, but I yank him forward so hard his teeth clack together in front of my face. He gasps. You make eyes at me across the table at the diner while we're doing the yard work at Janice's house, and you don't get why? Why the hell am I getting so angry? Let me go. TJ's still whispering, but it's getting louder. So you're just leading me on? I feel my voice break, as it rises in volume as well. What's happening? Why am I doing this? Is it a dream? Were you leading me the fuck on, TJ? I see tears bring in TJ's eyes, and he looks away from me like a kid that just got caught doing something wrong. Do I need to tell you again? TJ, I fucking love you. I've known it since I picked you up from the college. Listen to me. I pulled him closer, but as I do, he lashes it out. I see a flash of light, and the next thing I know, TJ's escaped my grasp. My paw is still stuck out in the air as I watch the lynx disappear through the trees. Soon, the sounds of his footsteps fade as well, and I'm left alone in the deathly quiet forest. I stare for a long time, listening to the nothingness, maybe waiting for TJ to come back, or for Julian to come up to the path to beat me up. Nothing happens. I don't know how long I stand there, but when I look up, I see that the sun has finally set. I numbly lift the camera in my other hand, still holding onto it like I was when I kissed TJ. Slowly, I walked over to the bag and kneeled down, putting the camera away. That's when I feel the nape of my neck prickle. TJ? I look back hopefully, but the path is empty. The forest, though. The trees and branches and leaves that outline the path, just before it curves out of sight, just 15 feet ahead of me. There's a shape in the trees, the shape of legs, arms, a torso, maybe a head. The shadowy figure seems to blend into the leaves, almost melting into the twilight. I blink hard, and when I open my eyes, the figure's still there, unmoving, unchanged. And that's when I realise that even though I'm holding my breath, I can still hear breathing. It comes from the direction of the shape, even though it doesn't move at all. It looks like a painting. Slowly, I stand up. It doesn't move. I start to walk forward, and that's finally when it changes. It starts to melt back into the trees, where the branches and leaves don't move. It moves through them. Then, as I reach the bend in the path, it fades into nothing. But the breathing continues. I look around finally, and see that it's gotten dark to the point that I can hardly make anything out. Everything that you see is twisted from what it once was. But what is it? It was something once, just like I was, but nothing here is obligated to make sense to you. But what does it want? What does anything here want? The only thing you know for sure is that it's evil. And just like that, I'm running up the rest of the path, feeling as if the branches are clawing at me, trying to pull me back into the forest. And still the breathing continues just over my shoulder, growing ragged with my own, following me, chasing me. I feel it closing in on me, gasping, taken on a robotic tone, as if someone's taking their last breath through a phone. And I'm the one on the other end listening to it. The crackling breath hisses out, then rises up into a screech of static and noise, and I break through the trees, landing in the ditch and jamming 2 fingers in the process as I throw my paws out to catch myself. I don't care though. I scramble out of the ditch, gasping for breath. I look up, hoping to see TJ, Julie and even Janice, but no one's there. Both cars are gone. I'm left alone on the road, in the silence and increasing darkness. Got abandoned. Man, that is rough. Chase has really been affected. I don't know if there's some kind of bad curse thing that's really affected him in a bad way, but the way he came onto TJ was absolutely not a cool thing. So yeah, we got abandoned and we had to make our own way back. I walked back to the motel alone. I hope to see Julian's truck in the parking lot when I get there, but it's not. Instead, there's the typical 2 or 3 cars along with my own. I still have hope as I make my way to the door. Maybe TJ will be in the bathroom, taking a shower. Maybe he's already asleep. Maybe he'll be awake and we can just forget what happened, chat until late, order a pizza like we did at Cole's house. But as I press the keycard to the lock and it flashes green and I open the door, I don't see TJ at all. It's dark and empty. And that's when I finally realise that TJ's left me as well. My mind is blank as I walk through the motel room, only then realising that I left the camera in the forest. I don't care though, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. I curl up on the bed and cry for a long time. I don't care how loud I am. I'm sure if anyone here hears it, they've heard worse. The employee at the front desk probably hears it every week, because that's just the way the town is. I fall asleep. Oh, that is crazy. But I don't know how much more of this there is, but I think we're getting to the end of the first sequence. So let us have a break here, and we'll see what happens in the next episode. I think it's going to come to I don't know what's going to happen actually. But yeah, this is Usho signing off, and hopefully I will see you next time.